There was once a question trending online. What does it feel like when a capitalist workhorse suddenly turns into a freeloading waste of space? Right now, sprawled across this 3-square-meter new-lead bed with its brand-new, cloud-soft mattress, mouth full of dried beef jerky, I could answer in a heartbeat. It feels fucking euphoric. 24 years I had lived like a machine, studying until my eyes bled, grinding 16-hour days at the family company just to earn one approving nod from a father who valued sons over daughters. In the end, he gambled everything away, fled overseas with his mistress, and left me behind as collateral for his debts, pawned off to Qin Yan. Who was Qin Yan? The ultimate villain of high society, a man who devoured rivals whole and never spat out the bones. But I no longer cared. I had burned myself to ash and still received nothing. So I chose to become a salted fish, lay flat. Let the world spin without me. Wherever there was Wi-Fi, a soft bed, and 3 meals a day, that was paradise. The door opened. I hastily hid the jerky bag and sat up straight. Qin Yan stepped inside. No murderous aura, no arrogant swagger. Under the warm light, he looked like nothing more than an exhausted workaholic, shirt faintly wrinkled, tie loosened, the clean, refreshing scent of oolong tea clinging to him. Not a trace of alcohol or cigarettes. He pulled out a chair, crossed his legs, and tossed a thick stack of documents onto the coffee table. His voice was calm, perfectly measured, the tone of a born negotiator. I know you were forced into this. I don't need a wife either. I only need a shield to shut my relatives up. Read it. I picked up the contract. The first 10 lines alone jolted me wide awake. 3-year term, full salary and benefits, unlimited supplementary card. No interference in personal life. Stay silent during work hours. Occasionally play the role of a virtuous wife. Shit. This wasn't a body-selling contract. This was a CIO job offer. I cleared my throat and adopted my most professional expression. The compensation package is excellent, but I have a few questions about the job description. What are the exact working hours? Do weekend family visits count as overtime? And does our household have a cap here for producing children? The room fell deathly silent. Qin Yan slowly removed his glasses and polished them. In his entire life, he had probably never encountered a negotiation partner wearing sloth print pajamas, sitting on a marital bed, calmly demanding overtime pay. No childbirth cap here, he answered with icy rationality. Weekends are yours. If there's a social event, the secretary will send the script and the overtime bonus. As for daily hours from the moment I walk through that door until exactly 8 p.m., you are Mrs. Qin. Outside those hours, don't bother me. My eyes sparkled. Understood, boss. I grabbed the pen, signed with decisive strokes, and presented the contract back to him with both hands, flashing my patented 45-degree corporate smile. Please rest. Well, boss. May your dreams be sweet and your stocks hit the daily limit tomorrow. Qin Yan stared at me. The corner of his mouth twitched. He stood turned and walked out. Tomorrow morning, the secretary will deliver the supplementary card. Use it freely. The door clicked shut. I flipped backward onto the bed in pure joy. The salted fish retirement era of Xia Luo had officially begun. I slipped into the role of model employee with terrifying ease. I lived as the ultimate salted fish, waking at 9 for a Michelin star breakfast, wandering the garden to inspect a few potted plants as exercise, then sprawling across the sofa to binge-watch dramas. Anyone who called looking for drama got blocked instantly. No conflicts, no pressure. But the moment the Maybach pulled up at 6 p.m., I flipped the switch to VIP customer service mode. The door opened. Qin Yan entered, carrying the chill of the outside world. Boss, you must be exhausted. I took his coat with practiced warmth. Bathwater is set to 38 degrees. Night. The kitchen prepared steamed cod, in soy sauce, your favorite. My voice stayed gentle, never overbearing. Qin Yan gave a small nod, the fatigue in his eyes eased slightly. Dinner passed in comfortable silence. Under my expert chopstick service, he had been eating more lately. The clock crept toward 8. At the exact moment the cuckoo clock chimed, my industrial smile vanished. I set down my chopsticks, wiped my mouth, and stood. Work hours over. I'm clocking out. After you finish eating, just let the butler handle cleanup. Have a pleasant evening, boss. 4. He could react. I spun and sprinted upstairs. Makeup removed, pajamas on, bag of chips torn open, drama cued. I ignored the man downstairs still buried in paperwork. 8. First Qin Yan had been startled. The butler reported that on day 1 I had vanished the second the clock struck 8. He had sat there holding his chopsticks in stunned silence before muttering, "She really is punctual." But he adapted quickly. He was disciplined, rational, and had no desire for a noisy woman clinging to him. My clear boundaries, silence, and sensibility fit his needs perfectly. Z became 2 well-oiled gears, river water and well water, never interfering. December arrived. The Qin group was in the middle of a major project handover. Internal factions clashed. Pressure crushed down on Qin Yan's shoulders. He returned home more and more often with an icy expression, brows locked tight, the oolong tea scent drowned beneath the metallic killing intent of the business battlefield. Friday night, Bazer Varvi p.m. Boss, I barely opened my mouth before he raised a hand. Dinner. I'm going to the study. His voice was hoarse. He strode upstairs and slammed the door. I shrugged and went to eat alone. At 8 I carried a plate of apple slices to the living room sofa. Normally I would retreat to my room, but tonight the television was airing a documentary about otters. I couldn't miss it. Wrapped in a wool blanket, sheet mask on, I munched apples and giggled at the otters smashing shells. 10 p.m., the study door opened. Qin Yan emerged, massaging his temples. He had just survived a brutal meeting, his head throbbed. He headed downstairs for cold water. Halfway down the stairs he froze. Under the television's glow I lay curled on the sofa, black sheet mask covering my face, apple in hand, laughing like an idiot at the screen. The contrast slammed into him like a physical blow. Sighed. His world was blood, severed heads, billions of dollars dancing on knives. Here, my world contained only otters and apple slices. I cared nothing for stocks or conspiracies. I was leisurely, quiet and unreasonably safe, looking at my carefree silhouette. The suffocating pressure in his chest suddenly deflated. Instead of continuing downstairs, Qin Yan returned to the study, grabbed his laptop, and walked straight to the sofa. He pulled over a throw pillow and sat down a hand's width away, opening the computer without a word. I went rigid, nearly choking on my apple. Kof boss Qin, work hours ended. Are you here to supervise the employee? Eyes, never leaving the screen, he replied evenly, the study feels stuffy. Changing locations, keep watching your shows. Linked. The tyrant had just shattered the 8 o'clock boundary he himself had set. But since he was only working, I couldn't be bothered to protest. Silence settled. Only the soft clack of keys and the television murmured. The faint oolong tea scent drifted from him, soothing frayed nerves. The heater hummed warmly. My eyelids grew heavy. My head tilted. Sometime later Qin Yan felt weight on his arm. Xia Luo had fallen fast asleep, cheek resting against his forearm like a soft pillow. A man with severe cleanliness OCD, he instinctively started to pull away, then stopped. Z truly treated his arm as nothing more than a headrest. Not a single trace of ulterior motive. Yin exhaled a long, quiet breath. He didn't move her. Instead, his free hand slowly drew the wool blanket higher, tucking it around my shoulders. Outside, wind and snow raged. This corner of the sofa had become an absolute safe zone, the first shared sanctuary between the workaholic tyrant and the salted fish. The night Qin Yan personally demolished the 8 o'clock rule and brought his laptop into the living room. My salted fish lifestyle seemed to have irritated certain people. Saturday afternoon. Qin Yan had gone to the company to handle an emergency. I lounged at home in a fluffy bear onesie, sheet mask on, half asleep in the massage recliner, when Butler Chen led 2 women inside with visible discomfort. That was Qin Yan's cousin, notorious for her venomous tongue. Beside her stood Lu Wan, the white lotus heiress of the Lu group. Rumors claimed she had once been the near-miss fiancée of my boss. Zhu Wan wore a form-fitting evening gown, clutching a bag the size of a small suitcase, radiating elegant purity from head to toe. The moment they saw me sprawled like a dried squid, Qin Yan's brows snapped together. Oh, Maya Yan works himself half to death, and you lounge around like this. Guests arrive, and you don't even bother standing to pour tea. Has the Xia family gone so bankrupt they sold off every last shred of etiquette? The Lu Wan covered her mouth with a delicate laugh, eyes brimming with contempt. Sister man, don't blame Miss Xia, being Mrs. Xin carries enormous pressure, maintaining appearances for her husband, while also supporting the business. This Xia comes from humble origins. These duties are probably beyond her. According to every palace intrigue script ever written, this was the moment I should rip off my mask, leap up, and either slap them or burst into pitiful tears. But I was a salted fish. Arguing required far too much energy. I lazily cracked one eye, paused the recliner, and spoke in a languid drawl from beneath the mask. Yes, you're both absolutely right. I'm a complete waste of space, lazy, useless, good for nothing. This Mrs. Qin position really is too much for me. Qin Man and Lu Wan froze. Clearly they had not expected me to admit defeat so shamelessly and so quickly. Seeing their silence, I delivered the finishing blow. Surely, I think Miss Lu is both beautiful and exceptionally capable, well versed in economics, perfectly suited for my boss. How about this? If Miss Lu truly wants the Mrs. Qin seat, I'll quote a fair transfer fee. For acquaintances, I'll even give a discount. Once payment clears, I'll sign the divorce papers immediately, pack my bags, and vanish in under 60 seconds. What do you say, sister? You shameless thing. Qin Man's face flushed crimson. Her finger trembled as she pointed at me. A money-hungry woman, like you, marrying into the Qin family only drags our name through the mud. I'm calling a Yan right now to throw you out. She yanked out her phone. At that exact moment, the heavy rosewood front door swung open. Qin Yan entered, black overcoat still carrying the bite of winter wind. The clean oolong tea scent instantly flooded the room, overpowering Lu Wan's cloying perfume. The air turned to ice. Lu Wan's eyes brightened. She stepped forward with a sweet smile. A Yan, you're back. Sister man and I came to visit you. We didn't mean to disturb Miss Xia's rest. Qin Yan ignored her completely. His deep, ancient well eyes swept over my motionless, salted fish form, before settling coldly on Qin Man. He didn't slam tables. He didn't roar. The true power of a tyrant always manifested in the quietest, sharpest cuts. Qin Yan slowly removed his overcoat and handed it to Butler Chen, then walked to the single sofa facing them. He crossed his legs, removed his gold-rimmed glasses, and polished them with unhurried elegance. The entire room fell silent. Dozen visits, without notice, he said, voice low and indifferent. And even finds the leisure to manage my household affairs for me. Qin Man, assuming he was on her side, immediately launched into her complaint. Xian, look at your wife. I said a few words and she immediately tried to sell the Mrs. Qin position to little Wan. What kind of woman prices marriage like market vegetables? Why keep such a person? Qin Yan's polishing motion paused. He looked up, his gaze sliced toward me. Under the mask I instinctively shrank my neck. Sit. The boss is pissed. This month's bonus is definitely gone. He set the glasses down, with a crisp click that made both women flinch. Sell the position. A dangerous smile curved his lips. The position of Qin Yan's wife, she dares put a price on it. It's actually far too cheap. I should deduct this month's allowance for her terrible math skills. Qin Man brightened. Exactly, you should. Qin Yan's voice dropped, carrying absolute authority. This is my house. Whether she chooses to lie around, sell the position, or set any price she likes is entirely her right. I give my wife money every month not so my cousin can come here and lecture her. Qin Man's face drained of color. Lu Wan's smile froze solid. Qin Yan pulled out his phone, swiped a few times, then spoke with crisp, professionalism. Isn't. I recall that last month your husband's supermarket chain owed Qin Group 3 million in material fees. I originally planned to extend the deadline to quarter end, but it seems you have quite a lot of free time to visit my home and discuss the monetary value of human beings. Clearly your cash flow is abundant. Z dialed Secretary Lin on speaker and ordered the legal department to issue a formal demand, full payment within 24 hours. If the money did not arrive by tomorrow, asset freeze proceedings would begin immediately. Xian, how could you? Qin Man's legs nearly gave out. That sum was a death sentence for her husband's already struggling company. Xian, Yen ended the call without another word. He glanced at Butler Chen. See them out. Next time anyone comes making noise and disturbing my wife's rest, there's no need to open the door. The two women were escorted away in a daze. Luan cast one last pleading look over her shoulder, but received only glacial indifference in return. The door closed. I peeled off the mask and peeked at the man on the sofa. Regrettable. The tyrant neutralized the green tea bitch without raising his voice, using pure capitalist mathematics as the killing blow. That's the most ruthless move of all. My heart gave a violent thump. That calm, logical protection made a girl want to kneel and worship. I tore off the remaining mask and switched instantly to flattering employee mode. Boss Qin, you worked so hard. Boss, you're simply divine martial prowess. Would you like tea? Or shall I massage your shoulders to relieve the stress? Yen leaned back, loosened his tie, and raised an eyebrow at my shameless expression. It's not even 8, still on the clock. Yes, the customer is always God. I hurried behind him and began kneading his tense shoulders with practiced skill. Closed his eyes, enjoying it. The corner of his mouth slowly lifted. 15 minutes of shoulder massage. Double bonus at month end. Next time you want to sell me, remember to set a higher price. Smiled until my eyes curved into crescents. With a boss this good, selling a little cheap labor was an absolute bargain. After the Qin relatives' visit, they began treating me like a live bomb and took deliberate detours. My salted fish life reached its absolute zenith. But, from that moment on, the 8 o'clock boundary was officially and permanently erased by Qin Yan. He had apparently developed a full-blown addiction to the living room. There nights. Snow drifting past the windows. Heater blazing inside. I curled beneath a thick wool blanket, clutching an enormous bowl of extra cheesy popcorn, eyes glued to a horror movie. 8 precisely 10:30, Qin Yan emerged from the shower in gray loungewear, laptop in hand, and dropped onto the sofa beside me without ceremony. Only a hand's width separated us. The oolong tea scent on his skin mingled with the rich cheese aroma, creating the most absurdly domestic, yet strangely warm atmosphere. I glanced sideways, still munching loudly. Boss Qin is the study's Wi-Fi down. Qin Yan's eyes never left the screen. Keys clacked steadily. There's a heater here, saves electricity. The group watches billions yet pinches pennies on a few cents of power. I snorted and scooted farther into the corner to give him space. The movie hit a tense sequence, the heroine descending into a pitch-black basement. I held my breath, reaching for more popcorn. A large bony hand suddenly appeared in front of my face. Give me one. Yen spoke casually. Stared. The CIO with severe cleanliness OCD food that hadn't passed the 5-star chef's inspection was now requesting chemically flavored popcorn from my bowl. You want to eat this? I asked cautiously. Your stomach just recovered. If you get acid reflux, who's going to compensate me when I die of fright? Here. He simply waited. I gingerly placed a single piece in his palm. Yen popped it into his mouth and chewed thoughtfully. Not bad. A little salty, he remarked with perfect seriousness, then reached over and grabbed another handful for himself. Just like that one man typing on a laptop, one salted fish watching horror movies. The popcorn bowl slowly emptied. Sweet words. No flirtation. Yet this quiet companionship proved that Qin Yan had finally lowered every last layer of armor in my presence. Another PM. I was hungry. I slipped downstairs, cooked instant noodles with 2 eggs and green onions, and carried the steaming bowl to the table. Qin Yan emerged from the study and caught me red-handed. Instead of scolding me for unhealthy eating, he pulled out the opposite chair and sat down, calmly dividing the noodles in half. The two of us sat slurping noodles loudly in the dead of night, him in a rumpled suit from overtime, me in sloppy pajamas fighting over the last soft-boiled egg yolk. In that moment, I no longer saw the domineering tycoon. I saw only an ordinary man sharing the warmth and smoke of mortal life with me, little by little. I allowed him to cross into my territory. I dozed off during a movie, head automatically resting on his shoulder. Qin Yan never pushed me away. He simply adjusted his posture, one hand still typing, while the other arm circled loosely around me to keep me from slipping. In my half-asleep haze, the oolong tea scent wrapped around me like a shield, bringing absolute safety. Life never lets anyone remain a salted fish forever. My laziness finally exacted its price in the form of a near-fatal illness. The temperature plummeted overnight. My immune system, already shredded from years of grinding for the Xia family, collapsed. 8 midnight, I began shivering violently. By morning, my entire body felt like it had been crushed beneath a steamroller. Fever spiked to 39.9°C. I lay delirious, unable to leave the bed. Qin Yan was already dressed in a crisp suit, preparing to attend a board meeting that would finalize a billion-dollar project. When I failed to appear, he instructed butler Chen to check on me. The bedroom door opened. I was curled into a ball, moaning, sheets soaked with sweat. Qin Yan strode in. The moment he saw my wretched state, his expression darkened like a thundercloud. He did not shout or lose control. He walked straight to the bed, pressed the back of his hand to my burning forehead, and immediately called Dr. Song to bring IV equipment. He ordered the kitchen to prepare white porridge with perilla leaves. Then, he dialed Secretary Lin, voice ice cold and absolute. Cancel this morning's meeting. You preside in my place. Anyone who objects can submit their resignation immediately. He tossed the phone aside and shrugged off his vest jacket. In the grip of high fever, every layer of my outstanding employee, ambitionless salted fish armor shattered. Old nightmares surged. I saw myself once more buried beneath mountains of documents. I saw my father's false smile. I saw complete abandonment. Dad, I'm so tired. Tears streamed down my face. My voice cracked. I've already worked 16 hours. Don't make me stay up anymore. Don't sell me. I don't want to be pawned for debt. The hands flailed helplessly in the air. Suddenly, a large, warm palm enveloped both of mine. Qin Yan sat on the edge of the bed without hesitation. He leaned down, slid one arm beneath my neck and the other around my waist, and lifted me effortlessly into his embrace. His chest was broad and steady. The pure oolong tea scent instantly dispelled the suffocating terror of the nightmare. Xia Luo, be good, no one will force you to work anymore. His voice was low, impossibly gentle. I'm here. You don't have to be pawned to anyone, just sleep. I'll take care of you. I clung to him like a drowning person clutching driftwood, burying my face against his neck, sobbing until his expensive shirt was soaked through. He never complained. He simply held me, one hand stroking my damp hair, the other rubbing slow circles on my back, until Dr. Song arrived with the IV. I slipped into unconsciousness. When I woke, the curtains were half-drawn, warm sunlight spilling across the bed. The fever had broken, the bone-deep ache had faded. I turned my head and froze. Qin Yan sat in the chair beside the bed. His tie lay discarded on the table, sleeves rolled to the elbows. He held a warm towel and was carefully wiping the sweat from my forehead and neck. A man with severe cleanliness OCD. A ruthless hegemon who bent the world to his will through brutal rules. Now tenderly caring for a sick woman like me. He noticed I was awake. His movements stilled, deep eyes met mine. Feeling better. His voice was slightly hoarse from exhaustion. I blinked, taking in the worry he tried so hard to hide beneath that calm exterior. The memories from my delirium returned, the solid arms, the quiet vow. I'll take care of you. My heart slammed against my ribs. For the first time, I did not see him as a paycheck dispensing boss or a sugar daddy to worship. I saw a man. A man strong enough to hold up the collapsing sky above me. Boss Qin, I whispered, throat dry. You canceled the meeting, won't it cost a fortune? Yin dropped the towel into the basin and gave a faint, crooked smile. He reached out and flicked my forehead lightly. No pain at all. The money I earn in a lifetime won't run out. But there's only one salted fish in this house. He leaned closer, so close I could feel his breath. So I have to take good care of you. If you die, who's going to sit here eating popcorn and watching horror movies with me? In that instant, I knew my salted fish armor had been completely conquered. I was moved. After the near-death fever and Qin Yan's quiet promise to support me, I realized I could no longer remain an ambitionless salted fish in this house. My heart once turned to stone by my family's betrayal, now raced every time I caught the scent of oolong tea on him. But just as those tender feelings began to bloom, trouble arrived. That evening was the Qin family's year-end internal gathering, small in scale, only the most prominent elders, yet ranked escount in danger level. The banquet simmered with barely concealed gunpowder beneath layers of aristocratic courtesy. After the opening round of insincere health inquiries, Qin Yan's third uncle, an old fox, perpetually eyeing the chairman's seat, turned his axe toward me. Yan, third uncle notices your complexion has been poor lately. He clicked his tongue and shot me a sideways glance. The group's affairs are demanding, yet your wife is completely useless. Low birth. Xia family bankrupt, she's nothing but a decorative vase beside you. A burdensome one at that. Second uncle immediately joined the chorus. Exactly. As family head, you need someone who can share the load. Second uncle believes you should take in a live-in assistant. The Chen family's daughter just returned from studying abroad, well-educated, capable. That her come to the Qin residence to help Xia Luo manage the household. You'll be able to focus on work with peace of mind. I sat perfectly still, fork still holding a piece of salmon, but inside I was laughing coldly. Live-in assistant, my ass. They want to plant a spy, pave the way to kick me out, then control Qin Yan completely. The reflex of an outstanding employee protecting her boss's interests kicked in. I set down the fork and quietly rolled up my sleeves. Fine. These old bastards want theater, I'll give them theater. I planned to knock over my wine glass, cover my face, and launch into a full-blown jealous paranoia meltdown. Since they already labeled me neurotic, I might as well go full neurotic. Let's see which Chen daughter dared step foot in this house to serve. I opened my mouth, ready to squeeze out tears. A large warm hand covered the back of mine and gently pressed it down. Then, Yen. He showed no anger. His angular face remained its usual calm, indifferent mask. He slowly wiped the corner of his mouth with a napkin, movements so elegant the entire banquet hall fell silent. He gave a slight chin lift. Secretary Lin stepped forward immediately and placed a thick stack of notarized documents, bright red seals gleaming, before third uncle and second uncle. Live-in assistant, Qin Yan repeated, voice low and steady yet carrying crushing pressure. You all seem deeply concerned about my quality of life. Third uncle faltered, but tried to recover. Third uncle only wants what's best for you. If you truly want what's best for me, Qin Yan cut in, sharp gaze sweeping every face at the table, you should have studied the Qin Group's financial reports before speaking. He paused. Last week, through official legal channels, I transferred 10% of the Qin Group's core shares into Xia Luo's personal name. The process is complete. She is now the second largest shareholder, second only to me. The banquet hall went utterly still. Even the sound of a mosquito's wings would have echoed. I sat frozen, mouth hanging open, staring at Qin Yan. The 10% of core shares stands of billions in value. The salted fish had just been handed an empire. Oh my God, have I, a freeloading salted fish, officially leveled up to a top female billionaire who cracked the list. Yin reached out naturally and took my hand. Our 10 fingers intertwined and rested on the table. He looked at the ashen-faced relatives and curled his lips in a faint, mocking smile. My wife doesn't need to manage the household, because her only duty is to sit back, relax, and spend the dividend money. You all call her a useless decorative vase. Then, tell me, are you planning to bring some random live-in assistant into this house to serve a female tycoon who holds the economic lifeline of the entire family? Or do you simply want to plant someone here to monitor my wife's assets? Third uncle's lips trembled. He stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. You've gone mad. You're handing the Qin family's legacy over to an outsider girl. The Qin Group was built by my own hands. The shares are my personal property. Whether I throw them out the window or let my wife play with them is entirely my right. Yin stood up coldly, his presence commanding the room. From this day forward, anyone who dares speak disrespectfully to Mrs. will be considered an attack on a major shareholder of the group. At that point, what you'll face won't be a dinner banquet, but my entire legal team. Enjoy your meal. Took my hand and led me out of the banquet hall with elegant calm, leaving behind a group of elders clutching their chests in shock. Sitting in the car on the way home, my mind was still spinning. I stared at the man beside me, eyes closed as he rested. Hadn't used violence. He hadn't shouted or severed family ties on the surface. Had simply used money, lots of money, and the law to silence every gossiping mouth. This calm yet brutally effective protection was enough to make anyone lose their mind completely. News of the 10% share transfer spread like wildfire through high society. Everyone whispered that Qin Yan had been bewitched by me, while I woke up every morning pinching my own cheeks to check if I was dreaming. But trees may wish for peace while the wind refuses to stop. My new title as a female tycoon had awakened every blood-sucking leech hiding in the swamp. The one afternoon, while I was pruning the perilla plants in the garden, Butler Chen approached hesitantly. Said him, "There's a man at the front gate claiming to be your father. He's making quite a scene." My expression darkened instantly. I grabbed the pruning shears and marched straight to the gate. Standing outside the iron fence was Xia Jiangu, the father who had taken the money and fled a year ago, leaving me behind as debt collateral. His clothes were disheveled, his face gaunt and hollow. The once proud chairman was gone. The moment he saw me, he grabbed the bars and put on the most pitiful expression imaginable. "Little Lu, my good daughter, father finally gets to see you again. Save me, my child. I was swindled clean out there. Your stepmother and your brother have abandoned me." I stood with arms crossed, watching the cheap melodrama with icy detachment. The heart that once desperately craved a father's love didn't even ripple. "You've got the wrong person. The Miss Xia you knew died the night you left that debt contract and ran away." I turned to leave. Xia Jianguo panicked and shouted, "I know you hate me, but we're still blood-related. You now hold 10% of Qin Group shares. You have enormous power. Just do one small thing for me. I know Qin Yan is about to bid on the Southern Urban District project. All you have to do is secretly copy his budget proposal onto a USB drive and give it to me. I have a buyer lined up, his competitor. We'll split the money 50-50. We can start over. Living with that demon can't possibly make you happy. Help me, daughter." I paused, then burst out laughing, a bitter, contemptuous laugh. "Xia Jianguo, selling me once wasn't enough. Now you want me to steal so you can sell me a second time." I stepped closer, every word sharp as a blade. "Qin Yan is a demon. No, he gave me a home. He gave me the dignity you never did. You're the most disgusting parasite of all. Get lost before I call security on you. You ungrateful brat. I gave birth to you." Seeing the family card fail, Xia Jianguo's face twisted. He raised his hand, trying to slap me through the fence. But before his fingers could touch the bars, a cold, deep voice sounded behind me. "Try," laying a finger on her. "I guarantee that arm will never rise again." Turned. Qin Yan was walking toward us, He wasn't wearing a suit, only a dark turtleneck sweater and dress pants. Yet the pressure radiating from him made the air feel thick and frozen. He stopped right behind me, like an unshakable mountain shielding me from every poisonous wind. Xia Jianguo shrank in terror at the sight of Qin Yan, but still tried to bluff. Be president. Qin was only disciplining my daughter. Qin Yan didn't even spare him a glance. He reached into his pocket and handed Xia Jianguo a thick manila envelope through the gate. Xia Jianguo's eyes lit up, thinking it was money. He snatched it and tore it open only to find a stack of documents and a court summons. Large-scale tax fraud. Illegal asset transfer for the purpose of concealment. And just now inciting the theft of trade secrets. Xi Yan listed each charge in a calm, weather report tone. I've already handed all the evidence to the authorities. Did you really think I'd let you escape abroad? I simply let out a long line to catch a bigger fish. I was waiting for you to swim back into the net yourself. Xia Jianguo's hands shook so violently the papers scattered to the ground. You set me up. The Economic Crimes Unit is waiting for you at the intersection at the foot of the hill, Qin Yan said coldly. You can spend the rest of your life repenting in prison. And never appear in front of my wife again. As soon as he finished, police sirens wailed in the distance. Several officers stepped out, read the arrest warrant, and cuffed Xia Jianguo, dragging him away. His screams and curses gradually faded into silence. I stood frozen in place, no grief, no collapse, only a strange, hollow emptiness and an overwhelming sense of relief. The rotten roots of that decaying family had finally been torn out completely. A large, warm hand gently stroked the top of my head. The familiar oolong tea scent wrapped around me. Don't be afraid. Qin Yan leaned down slightly, his steady, warm voice brushing my ear. From now on, no one can force you to do anything. I'm here. The words were simple, no flowery language, yet they were the most real, most masculine confession I had ever heard. My nose stung. I turned and buried my face in his chest, wrapping my arms tightly around his solid waist. The first time, I didn't hold back. I cried, crying away every grievance of the past, crying. Because I knew I had finally found the right person. Time flew by like a dog running across a field. Or I knew it. The 1-year anniversary of the day I dragged my suitcase into the Qin residence had arrived, meaning the bizarre administrative contract between Qin Yan and me had reached the 1/3 mark. Lately, our relationship had grown incredibly delicate. We slept in the same bed, he held me purely while sleeping. We ate from the same dishes, watched movies together, and he managed every detail of my meals and daily routine like a real husband. But I was someone who liked clear boundaries. The black and white contract still existed. I didn't want to delude myself about my position without a clear confirmation from him. That night, I decided to settle everything. I took the small suitcase I had arrived with, packed a few changes of clothes, then carried the original marriage contract downstairs to the living room. Qin Yan had just returned from work. He was removing his coat, about to head to the sofa, when he saw me sitting primly at the coffee table with the suitcase beside me. His steps instantly froze. His eyes darkened, a rare storm brewing in them. The temperature in the living room seemed to drop below freezing. What are you doing? His voice was low, hoarse, barely suppressed. I cleared my throat and put on my best Hutrar professional smile, pushing the contract toward him. Boss Qin, today marks 1 year of our cooperation. According to procedure, we should sit down for a performance review. How do you feel about my work? If you think this salted fish is too useless, or if you found a more suitable partner, I can pack my bags and leave according to the original agreement. However, if I haven't finished speaking yet, if you want to renew the contract, Qin Yan had already taken long strides toward me. He didn't sit. He stood towering over me, radiating the pressure of a predator that had locked onto its prey. His large hand picked up the contract on the table. Rip. Without the slightest hesitation, Qin Yan calmly tore the contract worth 500,000 yuan per month into tiny pieces and tossed them straight into the nearby trash bin. My eyes widened. Boss, if you tear up official documents like that, the accounting department won't be able to process my salary. Qin Yan didn't answer. He slowly raised one hand, removed his gold-rimmed glasses, and placed them on the table. Without the usual calm, ascetic barrier the glasses provided, his eyes were deep, burning, and filled with fierce possessiveness. He leaned down, both hands braced on the armrests of my chair, caging me in. His breath oolong tea mixed with raw masculine hormones washed over my face. There is no accounting department, and there will be no renewal. Xi spoke each word slowly, voice low and dangerously seductive against my ear. Xia Luo, listen carefully. Starting today, I am officially acquiring this salted fish for life, one-time transaction. No expiration, no returns allowed. My heart pounded like 1,000 deer stampeding through my chest. I swallowed hard. What about overtime pay and KPI bonuses? Every cent I have is yours. My life is yours too. The domineering words had barely left his lips when Qin Yan lifted my chin and lowered his head, capturing my mouth in a kiss. Not a light, fleeting brush, but a deep, passionate, reverent kiss that burned away every insecurity, every salted fish defensive shell I had built. It carried all the tenderness and longing he had suppressed for an entire year. The soft, wet warmth mingled with that clean, refreshing scent, until my mind completely short-circuited. I closed my eyes, wrapped my arms around his neck, and clumsily but sincerely returned the kiss. Outside, the winter wind still howled. But inside this villa, the boundary between boss and employee had been completely erased. Xia Luo, a certified salted fish, had finally been completely conquered by the great tyrant Qin Yan. But honestly, being pampered to the point of lawlessness by a calm, ridiculously wealthy husband who treated me like a queen was the best retirement plan in the entire world. After that explosive night, when the contract was torn apart, I officially changed my household registration from outstanding employee to the rightful lady of the Qin family. The benefits didn't decrease, they skyrocketed. Qin Yan wasn't the type to spout sugary love declarations or fill the house with roses. His way of loving me carried the rational flair of a true capitalist. He upgraded every aspect of my quality of life. I loved watching movies, so he had the 2 living rooms connected and installed a full IMAIC home theater. I was too lazy to walk to the garden, so he hired engineers to design a small conveyor belt running straight from the kitchen door to the greenhouse. Most importantly, he handed me his personal salary card and said calmly, "My monthly allowance is now under your management. Spend it however you like, Mrs. Qin." One early spring day, while Qin Yan was away on a 3-day business trip abroad, I found myself at home with nothing to do and an unusual burst of energy. I decided to do something a salted fish rarely does: clean his study. Truth. I was hunting for an ancient medical book I suspected was buried in the deepest drawer of the rosewood cabinet. My hand accidentally brushed against an exquisitely carved wooden box with a mechanical combination lock. Curiosity flared. I tried Qin Yan's birthday wrong. The founding date of Qin Group wrong. Our wedding date, also known as the day we signed the employment contract, still wrong. I bit my lip and tried my own birthday. The click. The lock opened softly. My heart skipped a beat. This great villain is hiding something in here that requires my birthday as the password. Don't tell me it's economic crime evidence meant to frame me later. I cautiously lifted the lid. Secret documents. No black ledgers. Dead. My eyes were greeted by a strange collection of old, tattered items. Spiral-bound notebook with worn edges, a flattened green candy wrapper, and several old developed photos. I picked up one of the photos. It was me. See, from 5 years ago, wearing a convenience store uniform, hair in a messy bun, dozing off on a box of instant noodles in the stockroom, face pale from exhaustion. My hands trembled as I opened the notebook. The handwriting inside was painfully familiar. It was my own part-time work schedule from university days. The morning shifts at a cafe, afternoon kitchen help, night shifts at the convenience store. 14-hour days. 3 to 4 hours of sleep at most. But what shocked me most was the green candy wrapper. It was the oolong tea flavored candy wrapper from the convenience store where I used to work part-time. What are you looking at? A warm, deep voice came from the study doorway, startling me so badly I dropped the entire box. Qin Yan was back. According to the schedule, he wasn't supposed to land until tomorrow afternoon. Then, here he stood, overcoat draped over his arm, carrying the scent of spring wind and the fatigue of a long flight. Seeing the items scattered on the carpet, his steps faltered slightly. Unlike the typical male lead panic and explain trope, he remained extremely calm. He walked over, picked up the notebook and photo, then sat down on the fluffy rug beside me. Gently, he smoothed the messy strands of hair from my forehead. I was planning to hide these a little longer. I was afraid you'd call me a perverted stalker. He gave a soft, self-deprecating chuckle. I grabbed his sleeve, voice shaking. Qin Yan, these things does that mean we met 5 years ago? Qin Yan closed his eyes, as if recalling a very distant memory. 5 years ago, the Qin family was in the middle of a power struggle. My third uncle set a trap for me. I was in a car accident and barely escaped with my life, covered in wounds. I stumbled into a narrow alley behind a convenience store. Voice remained steady, recounting the bloody story as if it had happened to someone else. I thought I was going to die. My stomach cramped violently from acute pain. Blood loss made me pass out beside a pile of cardboard boxes. When I opened my eyes, you were there. His deep gaze locked onto mine. You saved me. Stared blankly. A faint, blurry memory surfaced. That year, while taking out the trash for the store, I had found a man in black lying unconscious in the shadows. I thought he was a drunk vagrant. But when I saw the blood, my medical student instincts kicked in. I dragged him into the stockroom, used the first aid kit to stop the bleeding, and anonymously called an ambulance. When you regained consciousness for a moment, you were pressing acupuncture points on me to ease the pain, Qin Yan continued, fingers lightly tracing my cheek. You were in so much pain you could barely breathe, yet you still peeled an oolong tea candy and stuffed it into my mouth, scolding me. Even if it hurts, you have to keep living. Only the living can earn money to eat good food. Dead people are just a handful of dirt. The sweetness of that candy and the smell of antiseptic on you were the only things that kept me conscious that night. My eyes filled with tears. So, the faint oolong tea scent that always clung to him wasn't some refined personal preference. It was a reminder of the life-saving candy from that night. So, the acupuncture point massage I had performed on our wedding night had made him recognize his benefactor immediately. After he was discharged from the hospital, he found me. Qin Yan pulled me into his arms, resting his chin on the top of my head. I watched you work 3 shifts a day from afar. I watched your terrible father exploit you until you were exhausted. That time I wasn't strong enough, yet the Qin family was still too chaotic. I didn't dare bring you back for fear my enemies would target you. So, when the Xia family went bankrupt and he pawned you off to me, I didn't force them into ruin. That was simply his own karma. Qin Yan corrected with absolute logical precision, yet he had blocked every other avenue of borrowing for Xia Jianguo, leaving him only one choice: to come to Qin Yan. He had used the most ruthless debt collection method to completely sever my ties with that rotten family. He held me tighter, his breath warm against my ear. I brought you into the Qin family and gave you that shield contract because I knew you were already too tired of fighting. You didn't need to struggle anymore. You didn't need to serve anyone. I only wanted to give you the strongest, safest home so you could lie here peacefully and be my own personal salted fish. As long as you were within my sight, eating well, sleeping well, that was enough. Tears streamed down my face, soaking a large patch of his shirt. No earth-shattering conspiracies. Only the meticulous calculations of a man who had used his entire career and power to build an impregnable fortress for the woman he loved. Qin Yan. I wrapped my arms around his neck, crying and laughing at the same time. You planned everything so carefully. What if I hadn't signed the contract? What if I had hated you? Qin Yan kissed my forehead. The brightest, most complete smile I had ever seen on his face. Then I would have lowered myself. I would have taken a pillow out to the living room sofa and lain there, throwing a tantrum, until you couldn't bear to kick me out. The salted fish in this house has the softest heart, after all. 2 years later, my career reached a whole new level when I discovered I was pregnant. From the moment the test showed 2 lines, the Qin residents officially entered martial law mode. Qin Yan, a CIO who managed tens of thousands of employees, had now switched to studying obstetrics journals, baby rearing books, and analyzing pregnancy nutrition charts in Excel. As a professional nutritionist, I felt my career deeply insulted. Qin Yan, put that tiny kitchen scale away right now. I stood in the dining room with arms akimbo, pointing at the steak that had been cut into ridiculously tiny pieces. I'm a pregnant woman, not a sparrow. Why are you weighing every single gram of meat? Qin Yan, wearing a white shirt and a gray apron, pushed up his glasses with extreme professionalism. Last week's medical report stated that pregnant women in their 5th month, who consume more than 30 grams of red meat per meal, increase their risk of gestational diabetes. I cut exactly 14 grams for you. The rest will be supplemented with pan-seared salmon. I rolled my eyes and collapsed dramatically onto the sofa. I'm starving. Your child is crying from hunger. Seeing me throw a tantrum, Qin Yan's eyebrows twitched. His usual calm always crumbled in the face of my shameless laziness. He sighed, removed the apron, walked over, and scooped me up effortlessly, placing me back in the dining chair. Fine. I'll give you another 30 grams. But this afternoon you have to walk around the garden with me for 20 minutes. He compromised. Complete with an extremely logical exchange condition, my pregnancy proceeded under his ridiculously overprotective care. He removed every long pile rug in the house, for fear I might trip. Secretary Lin was demoted to high-end diaper and formula delivery boy, constantly sourcing the world's reddest organic soil fruits. And then the day of delivery arrived. It was just before dawn. I began having contractions. The pain made me break out in cold sweat. Qin Yan, I think my water just broke. I clutched his sleeve tightly. Like the typical movie husbands who panic, trip over themselves, or scream for doctors, Qin Yan reacted with the speed of a pre-programmed machine. He immediately carried me to the car and ordered the driver to head straight to the private hospital where he had reserved an entire VIP floor months earlier. Outwardly, he remained extremely calm, directing the nurses to call Secretary Lin to handle work. Not a single wasted movement. But when I was wheeled into the delivery waiting room and grabbed his hand, I discovered his palm was soaked in cold sweat and his fingers were trembling uncontrollably. I looked down at his feet and burst out laughing through the pain. Boss. Qin, you're wearing mismatched shoes. Qin Yan glanced down. One foot wore a shiny leather dress shoe. The other wore a fluffy bear-shaped house slipper. The great domineering CIO, obsessed with perfection, had been so flustered he put on the wrong shoes. He pressed his lips together, ears slightly red, but still spoke stubbornly. Time is money. Wearing the wrong shoes doesn't affect the speed at which I'm taking you to give birth. I gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. A perfect dragon and phoenix pair. The older boy was named Qin Tu. The younger girl was named Qin Yu. 3 years later, the Qin household had officially become a central circus. Qin Tu was truly a miniature version of Qin Yan. At only 3.5, the little boy already suffered from severe cleanliness OCD, loved arranging his toys by color, and always wore the expression of a tiny old man. As for Qin Yu, she had perfectly inherited her mother's salted fish genes. Sunday afternoon in the living room. I was sprawled on the mage recliner with a sheet mask on. In the corner of the rug, Qin Yu, dressed in a chubby caterpillar onesie, lay with her butt in the air, hugging her milk bottle and munching contentedly, while watching cartoons with half-lidded eyes. Scene 2. Wearing a perfectly pressed little shirt, held an English fairy tale book, and frowned at his sister. Scene you. Lying like that will affect your development. Besides, according to the schedule, you should be learning to recognize characters right now. Scene you cracked one eye open, spat out the bottle nipple, and mumbled Big Brother is so noisy. You is tired. Yui wants to be a salted fish just like mommy. If that she flipped over, propped her legs on a teddy bear, and went back to sleep. Scene 2 was speechless. He turned to me with a resentful glare. If look at her. I waved lazily. Leave her alone, son. There's plenty of time for studying. Let her lie there a little longer. Just. Then Qin Yan came downstairs from the study. Seeing the scene, his wife and daughter, one big and one small, sprawled like two mud puddles on the floor and chair. He could only shake his head helplessly. He walked over, scooped the chubby caterpillar Qin Yu onto his shoulder with one hand. The little girl immediately smelled the oolong tea scent on her father and nuzzled into the crook of his neck. Daddy. Big Brother is bullying me. Scene. Yan patted his beloved daughter's back gently and said, All right, no more character practice. Daddy will take you to the garden to watch the fish. Z turned to Qin 2, his tone instantly becoming serious and filled with air training gravitas. Qin 2. Finish reading that chapter by yourself and then summarize it for me. Men of the Qin family must have discipline. But when you turn 18, I'll hand the entire Qin group over to you. Qin 2 blinked his big round eyes and asked innocently, What for daddy? Scene. Yan looked at me smiling on the sofa, the corner of his mouth lifting in a deeply satisfied smile. So daddy can retire early and stay home to be a salted fish with mommy and you too. And just like that, our story, the story of a salted fish who was thoroughly conquered by a tyrant, found its perfect, lazy, and blissfully happy ending.